Well, thank you for staying with us. And you know where we're going on our first conversation, the first big story we're looking at today. Alan Kyerematen has decided to go with the butterfly and kick out the elephant. He has resigned. But what is the way forward for him and for the NPP? Well, today we have stalwarts from both ends who will be dialoguing with us in terms of what the way forward is. On the back of the NPP's response as well, Justin Frimpong Kodua saying that there may have been some ill will, intention, as far as this action of Alan Kyerematen is concerned. So we have joining the conversation via Zoom, Duke Sasu. He is a member of the Alan campaign team. He joins the conversation, Duke Sasu. Then we have Akufo-Addo Kabiru Mahama, technical advisor, Office of the Vice President. Both of them join the conversation. Since you are joining us via Zoom, let me just ensure that you can hear me. Duke, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning. How are you, sir?
I am well. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you.
It's good to have you join the conversation. Also in the studio, we have Akufo-Addo Kabiru Mahama, technical advisor, Office of the President. It's been a while since you joined me on the show.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You've been absent, AWOL.
Maybe you've been absent.
I have been absent,
because
anyway.
I've been here a couple of times. But
okay.
Also in other shows. Yeah.
Well, I've been in and out, like I said, doing a few things here and there. So good to have you join the conversation. Let me start with you, Duke. Alan has given his reasons for leaving the party, things not working, injustice, and a plethora of issues that he cites. And the reaction from the NPP has been one of, resigning. This is not your first time. And we are NPP. There's even that thing floating around of BJ Darocha from way back, 2008 thereabouts, the first time Alan resigned from the party, that they shouldn't let him back into the party, that he was interested in himself alone. Here we are at the crossroads again, and Alan has jumped ship. Some blue-blooded members of the NPP say, this is it, and if you go, don't come back. Can you share with us what as in Tree will say, what the main basis was for Alan quitting the NPP, why it is justified? Duke.
Once again, a very good morning, and a very good morning to Ghanaians all over the world who are listening to me this morning. I have a message from Honorable Alan Kyerematen. I think this morning he'll be on TV3 with Bebela Mundi for an interview as well, and he's in high spirit, and he says I should tell the young people across this country that this movement for change is for them. This movement for change is one that they will spearhead, and this movement for change is one that is here to stay. This question of yours brings about a very nuanced conversation.
Okay.
Of allegiance to a party as against allegiance to a state or a nation. The question is, should our ultimate allegiance be one that is to a political party, or should that political party be the vehicle to which we pursue or we try to advance our interest or our ambitions for the state? To that extent, we need to have that nuanced conversation as a people, that we cannot allow political party structures to create a preserve or a right of ownership of our interest, ownerships of our ambitions, and ownership of our loyalty. So that at every point in time where a certain political party structure becomes in its functioning, no longer represents the ideals for which you became a member of, it is important that you peacefully exit that very structure so that you pursue a certain structural narrative that allows you to represent your intentions or allows you to pursue your dreams that allows you to function as a rightful citizen of this country. And so that level of enslavement by political hierarchy structures is one that we think we need to have a rethink of as a nation. And these are conversations that over the coming days and months, you have massively across the country. But what I would say is that we are not in any way vexed by the press conference that happened yesterday. As a team, we are much more encouraged to pursue this agenda of a movement for change. And there's a rallying cry of hundreds of people who have already reached out to volunteer for Honorable Alan Kyerematen in this campaign process. So what I can assure you is that you are going to see probably an active participation of people across the country who are eager to see change manifest in every part and sector of our country as well.
So you're basically saying the Allen Drive is going full steam ahead. But you also know that there has been that charge. I've listened to Henry Nanabuachi, among others, suggest that once you lend your support to Alan Kyerematen, you speak favorably about him, you are opting out of the NPP. It's immediate and it is final. That would create quite a problem, right? Of course, we've heard of SK Boafo, who has even on the day said that he sides with Alan, he's staying with him, which means he would have ousted himself from the party. We've heard other people do say, Dr. Richard Amokuban, I spoke to him yesterday, also said that, look, I don't feel the party is going in the right direction and I am for Alan. But isn't it going to be quite a hurdle now that the party has categorically stated, and we've seen others like the Deputy Finance Minister who supported Alan but has stepped aside on his decision to go independent. Doesn't it create quite a problem for the Alan camp? Because now many people will not be willing to leave the NPP to go independent with Alan and forfeit their membership of the NPP.
Well, thank you, but it's a matter of choice. I think that people have a right to decide on that agenda. And that brings back the conversation I commence my analysis with, as to whether as a nation we should allow party affiliation to transcend our obligations toward the state. And that form of cult, or that kind of organizational cult within which we have built our duopoly of the NPP and NDC around, ought to be interrogated. And so these conversations will be had. And of course, we'll have people who, for their interest in terms of trying to sustain the current rules within the party and others, they would have to, I think, strategically try and publicly say that, well, we can no longer be a part of a process or with Alan Kyerematen in that regard. That is allowed. I think that it is their right. They have every right to do that. But what we cannot also undermine is that there are hundreds of thousands of people across this country who are asking for change. They are asking for change that transcends political affiliation. They are asking for change that transcends ethnic background. And that is why Honorable Alan Kyerematen says that I am going to form a government of national unity, a government where in appointing my ministers of state, I would duly satisfy the provisions of Article 78 of the Constitution and appoint majority of my ministers from Parliament. However, my appointment of ministers would not be based on party colors, but will be based on your competence, your credibility, and your character. These are the traits that you need. You don't need a party card. Also, people from all walks of life, no matter their affiliation to a party or not, will have the opportunity to serve in my government. They're allowing people within the private areas of our state to also advance or contribute to the building up, to the nation building approach. So essentially, I don't think in any way, in fact, I can assure you that the number of calls, the number of volunteers who are trooping in since the press conference on Monday is amazing. And I've been overwhelmed by it personally, because I was expecting such drive, but not within the space of time. And I can assure you that a massive statement will be made during this electoral cycle. And Alan Kyerematen is in to win this election. And it has been proven in Benin through Patrice Talon, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, the same in 2013 in Kenya. Emmanuel Macron, the same in France. And so we are looking at a new revolution of change that is going to hit this country. And you are all welcome to join in this very movement.
All right, just a very brief one before I come into the studio. Mahama, I'll give you enough time to respond to all of these. I'm just curious about this, the monarch butterfly. I've heard some people say, the monarch butterfly. What went into selecting that symbol?
Yes, so the monarch butterfly, I think it has to be, so the butterfly, for example, is one of the most underrated species in terms of biological history, basically. But apart from the foundational principles that define the monarch butterfly, its large influence in terms of pollination within its bio setup is one that is underrated.
Hello?
The territory, beyond its territory, and its ability to wage and impact the very climate far beyond where it might be situated or located, is one that is amazing, simply amazing. And the impact of the monarch butterfly, principally, which is the king of butterflies, is one that has been underrated throughout our evolutionary history. And so you'll be underrating Honorable Kyerematen at your own risk, at your own peril. You'll be underrating a man of strength and still character and spirituality, elements that define this very butterfly. And so each trait are one that you shouldn't underrate at all. The last thing you want to underrate is a species that has had a large impact within our ecosystem. And so, as has always been said, I will urge them to continue undermining Alan Kyerematen.
All right.
And in the coming months, they will surely understand what's this monarch butterfly.
They will feel it, huh? Okay. Some would say, though, that thanks to Galamsey and all of that, you can't even find monarch butterflies anymore. But I was thinking you would also talk about transformation, change, and how it symbolizes hope as well. Thank you for those initial comments. Let me come into the studio now. You've heard your colleague. I don't want to go straight into the questions I have for you because I know you will definitely have reactions for Duke. So what are your reactions? They've selected the butterfly. He said everything about it. And the butterfly, they say, will crush the elephant. What's your take?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to my colleague and good morning to your cherished viewers. You know, the membership to any association is usually based on what I would call the law of 2 feet.
The law of
2 feet.
Okay.
If you are neither contributing nor learning, you take your 2 feet away.
If you're neither contributing nor learning, you take your 2 feet away. Okay.
So to that extent, if anyone wants to exit any political party in the nature Mr. Alan Kyerematen did, you would but just respect that decision of that person. And I fully respect.
So is that the law of 2 feet? He's not contributing, he's not learning, so he's exiting.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
That is what he's saying, because if you are in an association, you either learn from the association or you contribute. So if he feels that he has nothing to learn in the NPP and he has nothing to contribute to the NPP again, he leaves. And I think that is what has informed the decision. No other point has informed the decision. All other statements made are not the basis. If Mr. Alan Kyerematen still felt that he had some contribution to make within the NPP, despite those concerns, he will remain. If he thought he had something to learn in the NPP, despite the concerns, he will remain. So that is the first thing. 2, the choice of symbols, the choice of logo, the choice of slogans to pursue the agenda so determined by Mr. Alan Kyerematen and his team is of least concern to us, because that is their strategy. All what we need to do is to focus on what we can do differently under the circumstances. I'll be the last, and just like the General Secretary mentioned, the fact that Mr. Alan Kyerematen is no more with the NPP doesn't mean that we should treat him like an outcast. of course, it's quite unfortunate that if you are exiting a political family like the NPP and you would want to exit with honor, you have to state your reasons without any form of antagonism to suggest that the very party that made you the person you are exiting it in a very rancorous manner. That is the thing we wanted to avoid in this whole discussion. And if you realize, even our team, in the run-up to the Special Delegates Conference, we're very careful as to the thing you see. And I respect Mr. Alan Kyerematen. I have enormous amount of respect for him because of how he has carried himself. But this decision, I think, that is the most unfortunate. We would just leave him to that decision. And I probably feel like I mentioned yesterday, it's an end of era. The end of the era that many people, after some few months, will forget about Mr. Alan Kyerematen. We'll forget about Mr. Alan Kyerematen because the political terrain, the duopoly he has mentioned, has come to stay. And if you will want, the creation of political parties is not in any way at variance with the spirit of the Constitution, to the extent that someone would argue that national interest supersedes party interest. The Constitution in its own form has created for multi-party democracy. Okay? And if it wasn't for the purpose of people coming together to form party and use the party as a vehicle to secure power to run the country, the Constitution would not provide for multi-party democracy. In fact, it would have been contemplating multi-persons or multi-personality or whatever, individual aspirations and drive.
But there are two angles to that conversation. I do agree. You cannot even come to this level and vie for the presidency and all of that without either going independent or attaching yourself to a political party. In political science, back in the day, they will teach you that these parties are formed in order to ascend to power, wield power, and use it in the interest of the people. I get that. But at the same time, there arise those situations where the interests of a party may not necessarily be in line with the interests of the nation. And this wouldn't be new in the political terrain in Ghana or elsewhere. History is replete with examples. You cannot fault him for that.
You see, if any individual cannot bring people together to form an association and use that association to run a country, even if you are given power under a circumstance, you may not bring the people, you can't bring the people together. Because managing a political party is a macrocosm of a nation. Okay, in my estimation, it would have taken a test of Mr. Alan Kyerematen successfully putting up a party together, letting the party believe that his vision for running the country, movement for change, is the best, and that the butterfly symbolizes the aspiration of the nation. And if those people, if there are 100 of them, 600 of them, 1,000 of them, 200 of them, they so believe in him, I can have confidence that Mr. Alan Kyerematen, if he's given the nod, he can manage the people of Ghana. But you are not even comfortable managing a political party. You are not even comfortable coming to put structures in place across the country based on that vision that you think that I'm going to be the driver of that vision. Now you are saying that I'm going to go as an independent person. Assess me as on the basis of that independent person and give me the mandate. And I'll lead you and I'll bring all the parties together and lead them. I think it's the most impossible thought. I would think that...
But I find your thinking pretty interesting. He's going independent. Must you form a political party before you can... There are different avenues per our constitution, per our electoral rules that he can use to ascend to the presidency. He's adopted one of them. What's this bit about forming a political party? As an independent candidate, he has his followers, and they will, if they trust in him, vote for him in elections.
As an independent candidate, he would have some followers. And I'm saying that those followers are following without guidance, if you like, because it's
their opinion.
It is a fact.
It's their preference.
That's what I'm saying. But whenever you are
whether you feel without guidance or whatever,
whenever you are leading people without guidance, without any document suggesting the conduct of members, okay, and a serious country like Ghana, you are going to lead people without any guidance, a document to suggest that members who believe in me must go by A, B, C, D. And it is going to be a binding contract between me. And on the basis of what I'm going to assess any member going out of that. and such a person is coming to lead the republic. I just feel like there's no seriousness in that.
I see.
With the greatest respect, I don't feel like, but you see, the end of any intervention may not necessarily to win power. Okay. And there may be other objectives which the Ghanaian people are not privy to. And it will only take Mr. Alan Kyerematen himself to declare that. Members of his team may not even know because he is only coming. The ulterior motive behind that, we may not know. So
ulterior motive. How can you sit here and say ulterior motive? Because ulterior is a very negative word to use. You're basically suggesting vile negativity. Ulterior motive. Why would you use that word?
I am saying that the ulterior motive behind that, they may be, they may not be. Okay, if there is, how do we know? But a reasonable person would then use the actions of the person to infer whether the motive, it has some there's some ulterior motive or not. I will look at the conduct of the person and ask, you've been in this party since 1992. Okay. You have contested an election where the very establishment you are complaining about supported you, yet you lost. There was no problem with that particular.
He's also contested at a point where he was asked to step aside for some other person to go ahead. And he rightly did, where that person said, after me, Alan is next. And now you deceive him out of that and you want him to stand by? Is that what you're saying?
No single person has got the right to determine who is next in this party.
So was it right when the current president said
I'm saying that the current problem had expressed an opinion. The president cannot determine who leads the NPP.
Was it the president now saying that, or was it the agreement at the time, at the top echelons of the party?
We know, those of us say we don't know of any agreement. It has been in the records book of the NPP that at this particular point there was this agreement. And if the party structure has so agreed, I'm sure Mr. Alan Kyerematen would have had a course of action to suggest that, look, under the agreement of NEC, National Council or whatever it was agreed that no contest is going to be held in 2013 to elect a presidential candidate. As a result, Mr. Alan Kyerematen is a presumptive candidate for the NPP.
So that would have been. I get the point you're making, but that also says a lot about the leadership of your party, or maybe even Mr. President. It means his word cannot be taken for.
I am saying that Mr. President may prefer Mr. Alan Kyerematen to become the next leader of the NPP, but that preference is going to be subject to the preference of the structure of the party and the grassroots. So to that extent, if there's any disagreement between his preference and what the people prefer, the preference of the people will hold sway. So that's the point I'm making. So the president might have said that. The president also saying that should also be mindful of the circumstances and context. If at the time that statement was made, the Ghanaian people had not known any person like the statue of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, they didn't know that Mr. Ken Ajapong would also contest. They didn't know that Mr. Adai Nimo will also contest. And that statement was made. When these people are now in the equation, that statement is subject to variation. Okay. So that is the point people need to note, that this whole thing about someone saying that some other person was the next person. In fact, in the next contest, if NPP should win the election, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia cannot determine who would come after him. Okay, it is the party that's going to determine. So I am of the view that Mr. Alan Kyerematen feel like, look, under the current dispensation of the NPP, I'm not able to contribute again. I have nothing to contribute to the party. I have nothing to learn from the party. I'll go my way. And that is exactly what he has done.
Okay, hold for me. Let me bring Duke back in. I just saw this post by Alan Kyerematen from his verified account on Twitter, or X, if you like. He says, when I am elected as president, ministers and other key government officials will be appointed from all parties and shall also include individuals who are apolitical, but have a demonstrable and proven track record of performance in their field of specialization. I will promote the establishment of a government of national unity. This reminds me of the days of Unigov back in the day, which will include people from all walks of life, irrespective of their political, religious, and ethnic affiliations, rich or poor, able-bodied or physically challenged, young or old, women and men. And quite a number of likes and shares on that. But let me come to you first with this bit that Mr. Mahama makes, the point he makes that the theory of 2 feet, if you like. If you have nothing to contribute or nothing to learn, then you walk away. Is that what happened? Does Alan have nothing to contribute, nothing to learn from the NPP? Is he bitter, and is that why he left? Duke.
2 things. Firstly, let me respectfully address my brother's assertion that Alan's followers are following without any form of a guidance. Secondly, he talked about the fact that not creating a party will yield no results. I think my brother lacks a nuanced understanding of our Constitution. Our Constitution has a preamble, and within the preamble of the Constitution, it probably clearly states certain objectives for the state and certain guiding value for the state, so that any other element within our Constitution becomes a subset, or it's only supposed to advance the ultimate objective of the state. Now, so that political parties in general become vehicles within which you can advance your aspirations for the state. At any point in time, when that vehicle begins to crumble and no longer represents the ideals for which you joined it, in the interest of national unity and in the interest of advancing the state interest, you have a moral obligation to step out of that vehicle and pursue any other vehicle that allows you to contribute credibly and creditably. The government architecture asks for an individual to put himself across to run for the presidency. A political party only proposes an individual. Executive power lies in the president. It doesn't lie in the political party. That is why I said in my earlier analysis that there needs to be a national conversation on why we should not allow political parties to capture our allegiance as a people. So that at every point in time, where that political party and their objectives becomes counterintuitive to the objectives of the state, then we need to have a revisit as a people in that regard. That is one. Secondly, to say that the lack of structures, I think that my brother is a bit not aware of the master stroke that Alan Kyerematen has actually established. He says that I understand that historically, an independent candidate might not get a buy-in beyond his person. So what he does is that I am not only running, I am running a movement for change. A political organization, not a political party, but a political organization that will have a structure that allows for people, irrespective of their ethnic backgrounds, their religious relationships, their political affiliations, to have to contribute to a national unity agenda. That no longer can you have opportunities in this country only because of a party card, but simply because you are a Ghanaian. That should be the primary element of your ability to contribute and to benefit from the state. And to underestimate that very marginal contribution, then you are surely underestimating what Alan Kyerematen can do. And that also represents how the butterfly itself is highly underestimated. But also, let me also refer to the fact that it has been proven right here in Benin that an independent candidate, he ran as an independent candidate, Patrice Talon, is the current president of Benin. He was an active party member of the ruling government at the time, went into exile. He received a presidential pardon, came back into the country, and under the anti-existing establishment narrative, won the elections in Benin. To underestimate the power of the people of a people who are crying for change in how things are done, that is problematic. The next conversation is that, what does Alan Kyerematen represent? There's a man whom, right after he resigned from government, the first thing he did before he even pursued his political, before he announced his political ambition to run for the leadership of this country, put across what he calls the Great Transformational Plan. Never in our history has any candidate advanced his interest towards holding the presidency of this country by first showing you what his plan is. A plan that is much more robust than the Marshall Plan of 1948 that revived Europe in general. And Germany, for example, was revived based on the Marshall Plan. He said that a comprehensive Marshall Plan of industrialization, of digital mainstreaming, of trying to downsize the government, of an agricultural revolution is what we need as a people. He has a message that transcends your political identity, a message that transcends your ethnic background, a message that says that whether you are an Ewe, whether you are a Gan, whether you are a Dagomba, whether you are a Mampusi, whether you are an Ashanti, wherever you are, whether you are an Achem, as I am, you have a role to play in the building of our country.
Is that part of why, just explain, is that part of why he is saying, which is a bit interesting, Unigov back in the day did not work, okay? He is now proposing that even per this post and what we've heard, he will rope in all parties in terms of appointments and all of that, those who are apolitical, he's embracing all of them. And interestingly, in terms of appointments, you know, ministerial appointments and all of that, he's willing to bring in both the NDC and the NPP. Does that mean then that, because as a political party you must have that sort of clout, a base? The NPP said they had the men and the women. Whether they do now in the shape our economy and everything is, that's another story. But you must have those people who can move the machinery of government. If he's only going to come and fall back on the NPP and the NDC to get these people, how different will it be?
Well, thank you. So let's not underestimate the fact that there are very credible, competent people on both sides of the political divide. The challenge within our country is that your ability to form part of a government has been premised on, first and foremost, your relationship with that political party. The first line of contact has never been your competence. The first line is that, what is your relationship with the political party? And that is counterintuitive to how you can advance a government of excellence. We have to see the fact that within the NDC are people of competence. Within the NPP are people of competence. Outside these political divides are people of enormous competence and resources who desire to contribute to our national development agenda. The only way that we can develop as a nation is if we tap into all sides of competence and not limit our selection process of managing the affairs of the state based on your party card. So that whether you are a member of parliament in the NDC, in the CPP, in the PP, any political party you are a part of, that doesn't matter. All what matters is that be competent, be credible, be a person of character, and surely Alan Chemantin will consider you in his government.
Okay.
And I think that we are at a point where the state is so polarized that bridge allows us to actually progress. And let me say this to our brothers in the NDC. The reason why many people in the NDC probably might be trooping in for former President John Mahama is mainly because they see him as a lesser evil to what the NPP is now. That for 4 years, John Mahama was voted out mostly by the people because they found him to highly not be up to task. Now, Mahama's ratings are so high against the NPP in the government simply because of how things have been managed. When we provide them an alternative where they can also play a role and they can also participate fully in government, we'll have a rallying cry where people will be willing to come out in all forces that, listen, it is no longer a matter of the lesser evil between a potential race between the Vice President, Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, and possibly John Mahama. But on December 7th, you have the option of choosing Alan John Chemantin, a man who has spread his arm that no matter...
A man who has also been part of the NPP's... A man who has also been part of the NPP's governance, first under Akufo and now for 6 years under President Akufo-Addo, who has also been mired in the same things that Ghanaians are complaining about. He can't detach himself from that, can he? Hello, Duke. Can you hear me, Duke? Well, it appears Duke is not with us currently. I'll come into the studio. Blunt question. Is the NPP afraid of Alan John Chemating? Are you, and the Vice President, you sit in the Vice President's office. Is he quaking in his boots? Because Alan has stepped aside. It's a seismic shift, whether you want to consider it or not. And especially when you were already going into a very tough election, trying to make history by breaking the 8, whatever that means. And now, to add to your woes, to add to the political fortunes of the party that have dwindled, the economic mess, inflation, and everything in between, you have infighting culminating in the resignation of a juggernaut like Alan Chemating, who is now saying, I'm going to now claw back at you. So vote no crowd,
yeah, seismic shift at worst a tremor. It's not an earthquake for the NPP. Okay.
I see.
I say at worst a tremor. It's not an earthquake of a magnitude and degree that will make the NPP shiver.
I see.
And Mr. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is aware that to win political contest, you can't get it from waking up from your bed. These things we are experiencing are bound to happen. That people...
You don't see that happening in the NDC. In 2004, when the Eagle Party, decided, and of course we know where it came from, then they formed the Grand Coalition. They got 1.9% of the votes, okay, led by, I think it's Nasigri Mahama, almost 2%. That cost the NDC. It cost the NDC almost 2% of the votes. Even if Alan is getting 2%, that's 2% that you can't afford to lose.
The fact is that you are assuming that he's going to get 2% of the NPP's vote. Well, I mean, from their analysis...
2% of any vote. It cannot be without impacting
the NDC vote. It is to our advantage.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
So, for me, the final analysis, history has also shown that even the party headquarters is just here. NDP. I don't know whether they have moved. Okay. It was an offshoot of the NDC, right? In 2010. Okay, but in 2012, they still won their political power. Okay, so for me, a lot of things will come into the analysis. It's quite unfortunate that, Mr. Chair, even if you lose a single member, as a member of the NPP, you'll be concerned that a single member is leaving our fold. Even let's assume that he was not going with any member of the NPP. So we are concerned about that. But we are of the view that NPP has gone through much more turbulent situation and has weathered the storm and has come out successfully. Even on the back of 2016 election, we had to take a very difficult decision of suspending the party's chairman and the party's general secretary, and went ahead and won the election. People have thought that it was a very unpopular decision, and that decision, people thought that was going to be the final nail on the coffin of the NPP. But we won the election. On the election year, Mr. Kufuor's campaign manager, Alhaji Yunusa, resigned in 2000. Mr. Kufuor took the decision and went for the contest, embracing the challenges, and won massively. Okay. We have...
the dynamics are not the same.
Well, dynamics are not the same.
The charge was in favor of the NPP at the time, all the way from 1992.
Now,
the charge is against the NPP.
Now, let's look at why will you say the charge is against it? Because the NPP has got 8 years. And with the notion...
It's not just that. It's about the performance that people have seen.
No, even if we are going to compare performance between NPP and NDC on the back of the challenges, NPP can still be able to extol the records of the...
Your words. I don't want us to go down that road.
No, it is the data.
I think it's
which data?
Which data? We are seeing the highest inflation in 2 decades.
I'm saying that
thereabout. That's where we've been.
The problem,
we've gone to the IMF. The
problem with your analysis is that you are doing.
And you want to tell me about
the problem with your analysis is that your analysis is problematic because you use static performance. The government had performed 8 years. You have to use the performance over the 8 years. If you use a single month, you are basically out of gear.
Which single month am I using?
If you use a single month of now inflation, 30%.
This
you are being
inflation is not
totally
30%,
wrong.
By the way. Inflation is about 40%.
I'm saying that.
Hold on. Let's do this. Let's not let's do it bit by bit so the people watching us can understand. Inflation currently sits around 40.1%. Okay. Food inflation is one of the highest on the continent of Africa.
It's okay. Yes.
Let me make my point.
I'm following you.
Fuel prices, one of the highest you would find on the continent of Africa. Our economic woes, we've borrowed more than all the administrations since independence put together up to now. And interestingly, even as inflation is at 40.1%, this is the best we've done in close to a year, in about 11 months. We've hit above 50%. Do you know what this means? Do you understand what this means?
So let me tell you what it means. And I've given
you are schooled in economics. Do you know what this means?
I've given you the benefit of raising them, and I'll answer them one at a time.
Right.
Okay. One, you've used inflation now, and you are going to use the inflation for this month to judge a government that has performed for 6 months. For 6 years, for 8 years. It is not going to be being genius to the fact. That is pure ingenuity. To use a government inflation for a single month, which is 40, to say that the government is doing bad. Or on the back of that particular month.
I cannot get your analysis. When the best you've had in a year is this.
No, that's not the best you've had in a year.
Inflation has been over 50%.
It is wrong.
In about 11 months, this is the best figure we've seen.
It is not
the 40.1%.
This argument shouldn't go.
So you're contradicting what the Ghana Statistical Service has been telling.
I am contesting the fact that when you are going to measure the NPP's performance against the NDC performance, you are going to use their performance for 8 years.
Right.
As against the NPP performance for 8 years. You will not be doing that on a single month or a single year. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Let me bring in the conversation.
That should be the angle we should be making this. You are making of growth. You have to use our growth for it. You even made a real impression that we have borrowed more than a single government. Of course, yes, volumes, that is true.
Right.
But have you gone to do analysis of the project that this government has done with those
projects?
The interchanges that have been constructed, no government has constructed
now
more.
Interchanges are important. I thought interchanges were irrelevant.
No, you asked for projects. Okay, you ask for projects. You ask for projects, and I'm educating you on the projects. Unless, of course, you are saying that it is not relevant.
Interchanges, right?
It is not relevant. Yes.
So interchanges.
Yes, we've contracted more airports. Okay. Airports.
Which ones?
No, even Kumasi is there. Tamale is there.
Okay. You hold on. We'll come back to this.
So we can.
I don't want us to lose your Deputy General Secretary. We have him on the line. I'll come back to that point. So you walk me through the others. Haruna Mohammed is a Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, and he joins the conversation. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
So, we've got to this forked road, if you like, where some people are going left, others are going right, and some are siding with a certain Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. Your party has come out to say that, I'm looking at page 13 of the Daily Graphic today, that his resignation was premeditated, it was some sort of plot, and that he should have made the party aware that he was going down this road. I've heard of calls that were made to him by the leadership of the party, but he's gone down this road. Now, let me be blunt. Dr. Richard Amwakoba, a political scientist, says this move by Alan simply means you are not going to break anything. You are not breaking any 8. You are losing election 2024. Professor Kobi Mensah says the same thing. And then we have this issue of hijacking the party. Dr. Kwame Asa-Asante of the University of Ghana says there are issues in your party to address when it comes to that. And he cites Kwame Pienim from yesterday, also saying that indeed your party has been hijacked by a few individuals. How do you respond to this?
Thank you very much, my brother, for this particular question. First and foremost, I want to extend my greetings to your viewership and also Dr. Kabiru in your studio. It's very unfortunate that senior members of our party who hitherto would have wished to make sure that the good image as enshrined in the party's constitution is what they project, but they move on to make this unguided statements which are not based on facts and that cannot test the test of time. I don't know which Dr. Amakuba you are talking about. If it is the same person that I know.
Political scientist Dr. Richard Amwakoba.
The same person who doesn't believe in the positive performance of the NPP. And I am not surprised that he says that there is nothing to break. Remember, the NPP has a leadership, and the leadership of the New Patriotic Party have so taken a decision to break the 8. And we have the strategy and the work to make sure that we break this particular 8. We have responded to couples of statements that have been raised by Mr. Alan Kojo Chomantin on point of law and precedent. And it is clearly that either he did not understand the constitutional provisions in the party's rule and the performance of the National Council. First, he says we hijacked the political party. Some people have hijacked the party. The General Secretary had explained into details the number of people who select the presidential candidate, and this is something that he himself is very much aware, that even in the last election that we have just done on the 26th, about 900 and something plus went to vote. So how could somebody sit and hijack 900 and something? All of us are well aware, and he was having the album to that particular election. The General Secretary took us through the memory lane of how elections were done and how electoral college has been expanded. So it is very unfortunate for somebody to say that somebody has hijacked a political party. You see?
So you're telling me that stalwarts like Kwame Pianim, and in fact, even Nyaho Tamaklo, who some of you... Hold on.
Is a suspended member of our party.
He is a founding member of your party. Whether some of you say he is not a member now or not, he is a founding member of your party.
Suspended him.
Right.
Yes.
So okay, let's even pretend he's not a member of the NPP. He's a citizen of this country. He can share his opinion. He says that Alan should have even gone ahead to mention those who are hijacking, names of those hijacking the party. He was dissatisfied with that. You're telling me the likes of Kwame Pianim, with his pedigree, knowing, I don't need to tell you who Kwame Pianim is, are saying that the party is indeed hijacked by a few individuals. And from where you sit, nothing like that is going on. So Alan was totally off the trajectory, right?
Do you want to tell me that Kwame Pianim doesn't have the right to his opinion? And do you want to tell me that the opinion of Kwame Pianim should stand the test of time to represent the entirety of the NPP? No,
not necessarily, but I'm also saying that would you not count it as crucial if someone like him says something like that?
That is his opinion. That's what I'm saying. We don't deal with opinion.
Okay.
He's bringing his opinion, and what he's saying is not the fact. That is what the party is saying. It's not a fact. Could he be part of those who hijacked the party? When he was chief of staff, did he hijack the party? When Alan was contesting and the system, including him, was supporting Alan, did they hijack the party? When they were sacking MMDC, Zabzugu DC, Mr. Bukari was sacked because he was not supporting Alan. Was it because somebody hijacked the party? Please, this party belongs to a number of people. This party is a democratic party. Everybody's opinion matters. Let's allow everybody to express their opinion. And when the majority carries the day, the person wins.
All right. I'll put to you the same question I put to Mahama in the studio. Is the NPP afraid now that Alan has decided to step aside? Some say Kennedy Japan promised a showdown, but Alan has given the first showdown.
Did you check the demeanor of the General Secretary when he was in the press conference? The NPP is not faced at all. That is why we say we are the NPP. We are not disturbed in any manner, but we wish that this never comes. But the NPP will move on to cling onto political power. That is exactly what we are going to do. Democratically, that is what we are going to do. When you are faced with a challenge, it is left with you to prepare yourself and meet the challenge and make sure that you distinguish yourself and prove to the whole world that you are a resolute party, a corporate institution that believes that you'll be able to solve your own problem. We are not going to behave like John Mahama who wrote in his own book, My First Coup d'etat, that as a young man riding the bicycle down the lane, he could not take a decision on his own. The NPP will take a decision, and that decision is going to make sure that we win political power in 2024.
Let's look at how much damage this likely will do to the NPP. You do say that the NPP will stand. You are the NPP. He has chosen the symbol of a monarch butterfly, and Duke Sasu, who is on hand, actually walked us through the symbolism of that. But political watchers have said, especially from taking into context where Alan hails from, the Ashanti region, and the sway he has, it could cost you big time in that region, especially considering that any time you score under 75% in the general election, it bodes trouble for the NPP. Any votes taken by Alan, whether from the NDC or the NPP, but knowing his stock, likely from the NPP according to political watchers, will do some damage to the party. What is your thinking on that? What is your reading?
First and foremost, if you look at where Alan comes from, if you say the Ashanti region, the General Secretary of the party is coming from Ashanti region. The National Organizer is coming from Ashanti region. The National Treasurer is coming from Ashanti region. That tells you that the NPP means a lot to get lots of the votes from the Ashanti region. This is the operational blood of the party. And I believe that these people are very young people who have resonated well with the youth of the Ashanti region, who have worked through with them, who have stayed committed to them. And the Ashanti region has always been the region that supported the party very greatly. If you go and see the energy in Ashanti region in terms of the support for the New Patriotic Party, I am going to tell you that we are going to score more than 70% of the vote. We have a strategy, and our strategy is within our circle that we are going to make it. And I want to make this particular point very clear, that the MPP has not changed what we want to do in 2024. Yes, we may have that particular challenge of Alan exiting, but ask yourself, if an eagle could not do anything to an elephant, what more of a butterfly? It is not going to stand on the ground. If you want to trace the history of symbols, it will tell you that the elephant that we all know, when the elephant falls in the bush, and myself, you, we are going to cut our meat and go home. I may even finish cutting, and then I'll get to the house, and I'll not even know that you are part of that. The elephant serves a lot of purpose. What does the elephant even do in the bush? Please, in choosing a symbol, that is very, very important for us to be able to do that. But he has his democratic right to do so, and we acknowledge his contribution to the New Patriotic Party. We respect him. We are not going to attack him. We are not going to insult him. But if he doesn't want to be responded to, then he should stop making negative news. Else, if he says something about the MPP, we will respond to him, because the constitution of the New Patriotic Party says so, that we protect the New Patriotic Party, the good image of the party, and to project it. And that is exactly what we are going to do. And point on, we have a president, we have a vice president, we have ministers. Any of them that has been attacked is an attack on the party and government. And the New Patriotic Party will come and defend this particular party, the sanctity of our democracy, and project forward to win the 2024 general election. All
right, Haruna, we're grateful that you took the time to join the conversation, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
Haruna Mohammed is a Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Let me come back and wrap with my two guests on this subject matter as we move on to another crucial matter which has to do with Albert Kandapa and Oliver Barker-Vormawor with that claim of $1 million. But before we get there, you were going to tell me about the MPP's projects which sort of substantiate. I'm sure you've had enough time to look up as many as possible that can be substantiated by the gargantuan sums of money that we've borrowed.
Yeah, I don't even need time to go through that because most of them.
You mentioned interchanges.
I have interchanges. We've constructed more roads than any other government from the money.
Okay. I will not be tempted to go down.
But the problem is that we don't want
the high contestations on that, and
it doesn't want
we don't have the time to go down that road. And
so if we don't have the time to go down road, you are contesting.
No, I'm saying that I will not go into detail on that because that is a whole conversation on its own.
So maybe if you
resurfacing and all of that,
if you want us to have conversation on the NPP's record, I mean, I'm always.
No, I just want you to list as many as you can.
I'm always available. I can give you the list. I mean, if you indulge me, I can. I
thought you could do this without.
No, I can do that, but you are saying that you want me to give you the list. Of course, I've mentioned of interchanges which has never been done. Many of such. This government has constructed more roads. Right. I've mentioned of secondary schools. Apart from the STEM schools that have come into the fold, we have constructed more classrooms. Okay, this government has done more, when it comes to agriculture. Okay, despite the problem you are mentioning about food inflation in the agriculture sector, this government has done a lot when it comes to what do you call it? What's the name? Rail sector. For the first time, we are seeing the pictures. Tema Mpakadan railway line. This government is the only government that has ensured that we have some state-of-the-art rail facility across the country. We are making sure so many universities is being constructed. This government made sure that has been done. We are making sure that, in fact, on the expenditure side, when you talk of money, people will say you don't talk infrastructure. But we have sustained the health insurance that up to date, unlike the previous government where there were arrears, up to date we are staying current on the payment of livelihood services. That is the money we are getting. We are making sure we are staying up to date in terms of financing our free senior high school. That is money. We have recruited more people than the NDC in power. That is money. The over 2 million people who are coming to vote.
I have a simple question for you. But before I get to that question, you spoke about the rail systems and all of that. Whatever happened to the SkyTrain? When are we getting it?
No, but I mean, that probably the details of such will have to be, the Ministry for Railway would have the details of that. As I sit now, I don't have the details of what is the debate. I remember when
will it ever materialize?
Depending on the financing arrangement. For now, there's a clock. There's a clock on financing over the challenges we are having currently. Inflows of, and even there's a limit of what government can add on onto the debt stock. That is going to affect
still within 2 months you've been able to add 6.3 billion to the public debt. So
but you see, the problem with such analysis is that you are forgetting that part of the amount coming is from the IMF concessional loan. You see, so that is the problem we have. That when you sign a program and the program is giving you money, you don't use it and say that still government is saying they are not going to borrow, they are going to borrow. Meanwhile, they have forgotten that it was a program we signed on to. And part of the program was to give you a concessional funding. So we shouldn't use those as a basis to hang government. You know very well that this is money coming in anyway as a result of the program. So if you sit down to use it to hang government, you are being mischievous.
I am being mischievous.
You are, because you know that.
Do you know what I was going to ask you? In spite of all these things you say you have done, I mean, we could go into health and Agenda 111 and everything. Now we are hearing that dialysis is going to shoot up even in public institutions from 300 cedis to 800 cedis thereabouts. Let's not even get there. When you go on the streets, okay, and you engage the ordinary man and ask, okay, so we've borrowed all of this. How do you feel this has impacted your life? I think as a party, don't let the media do it. You may think we are whatever. Sometimes you come and you think we're being skewed. You should do it yourself as a party. Go out there on the streets and speak to people. And these claims that you're making, run them by the people and find out. Because when we speak to them, what they tell us
is different.
It's very different.
I agree that the ordinary Ghanaian on the street and the people we are likely to interview on the street are feeling the pinch of the economic crisis we are having. And no one should take away that particular sense of difficulty from the people, and if they so complain, it will be genuine for us in government to admit and take whatever measures possible to ameliorate that difficulty. That's my position, and that's the position of the president and the government.
Okay.
But it is also insensitive and lack of recognition of government's effort to jettison all the good things government have done. Imagine this difficulty. Parents were still going to be paying their war school fees. Imagine this difficulty if the cash and carry system was back to operation. Imagine this difficulty if the poor, the vulnerable, who are benefiting
mentioned
from
two things: parents paying for. Have you paid attention to some of the things they are having to pay for, even in the midst of free SHS?
I agree.
You are talking about cash and carry.
I agree.
When was the last time you went to hospital and used your national health insurance?
All the time I go to the hospital, I use.
Are you being serious?
I'm being serious because look,
go out there. Don't go far. Go to the very entrance.
No, I'm telling you, if you are not,
and ask people.
If you are not using your health insurance, if you are not using,
don't come here and say
I'm saying if you are not using it, it is your discretion.
Really?
But the health insurance, I'm telling you, the health insurance system is working, and people are using it to subsidize for their healthcare provision.
Right.
So I'm just saying, even the provision the parents are paying, imagine they were going to buy that at the same time paying their war school fees.
Right.
Okay, so you cannot belittle or diminish the impact of the intervention government. But
so let's come back to the topic. We have to end. I want to go to Duke, but when I go to Duke, that will be the end. So I want you to wrap up. So this move by Alan, what is it going to mean for the NPP moving forward? What does this mean, basically?
Yeah,
as your wrap-up comment.
Basically,
and then I go to
basically again, I'll reiterate the point that it's unfortunate Mr. Alan is going. We wish he still remain and contribute. But like I said, if he feels he has nothing to contribute and he has taken the decision to leave, we have no option but to allow him leave. What it means basically is that NPP members who want to follow him basically will forfeit their membership, and we'll have to measure the extent of the loss and see in what areas do we have to make it up for. There are other people in the NDC who are disillusioned, who feel that John Mahama is not the option, and they want to find a new hope, a new leader who can associate with them. We'll look up to that and see whether we can get a number. We are also having to make a lot of impact in the north, because that's the stronghold, and even the Volta region, those are the strongholds of the NPP, of the NDC. NPP will have to look and see how much more votes we can rake in from those particular areas. At the end of the day, I'm also counting on the dynamics that will play when the two leaders come face to face. At the end of the day, we know that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going to win, and we know that the NDC has already presented Mr. John Mahama. We know that Mr. Alan Chiamante is going to be on the ballot. At the end of the day, we have three candidates at least out of, we can be certain that these people will be on the ballot. We will then look at the personality of this, who has the potential of bringing us power, who can deliver, who is much more a young person, who understands the concerns of the youth. These are all factors we have to capitalize on and make sure that we win. For the focus of our campaign is that, look, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not yet over for us. November 4th is still at the corner. We take one thing at a time, because who knows, even though out of the preponderance of the several evidence and facts and even research we've done, it shows that Mr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going to win the election.
Sure. Let me just ask you this, lest I forget, very briefly. Just give me a straightforward answer. So if election 2024 happens, the presidential election, and it goes into a runoff, let's assume Alan gets a chunk of the votes, maybe 5%, 7, 10, 12%, and that is how it goes. Will you now try to bring him back? Will you try to get him to support the NPP?
It's a runoff. It depends on the number of people also in the contest. If at the end of the day there are people together who makes up to maybe 20%, Alan is making 15%, and we get the 20%, Alan's votes may not be necessary. But in that crucial situation, you need everyone. But you are not getting him into the NPP. You are getting him to support the NPP.
Oh, so his support you will take. But, but even for him...
But he said if in the unlikely event he's elected as president, he needs the support of the NPP. He said it. Okay. Their spokesperson said it. So
thank you for those comments.
We need the support of any other person.
So you will still want to fall on Alan Kojo Chiamante. Duke, you have the final say, quick reactions and your final thoughts, and then it's a wrap. Is that Duke?
Yeah, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
I'm wondering right now, how did we get here as a nation? For example, the Julobi protest started, and for 3 days, we did not get any official statement from the party, from the NPP, questioning the fact that how did we get here as a nation? Alan Chiamante resigns, and there's a press conference. It tells you it's your priority. If you deny yourself, if you are into a self-denial to the state of our economy, being championed by the vice president, Mahmoud Bawumia, then there's a problem in this country. And my final words are this. to young people across this country listening to me this morning, from the Ashanti region, from the northern region, from the southern sector, wherever you are from, no matter your political affiliation, whether you are NDC and you are also peeved about how His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has led this country and has nothing new to offer, and how the incumbent NPP government is running the affairs of this country, you have an opportunity to be a part of a movement that will transform the future of this country, that will transform this nation. A man with a plan by name Alan John Kwadwo Kyerematen, a plan he calls the Great Transformational Plan. A plan that is at the level of the Marshall Plan, far greater indeed, is saying that he's inviting you on board, a movement that he wants you to champion, a movement that he will champion, a movement for change, a movement that will awaken all the people who are in self-denial to understand that power resides with the people of this country, and that our ultimate allegiance as a people is to the state and not to a cult establishment of a political party in any form. Come and join this organization and let's pursue an agenda called We Are Ghana. Ghana will rise again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it's going to be quite the showdown, depending on which political parties take up the mantle and go through the EC processes ahead of election 2024. But we know for certain that the monarch butterfly will be there, the elephant will be there, and the umbrella. Who wins? That verdict belongs to you, the people. Well, thank you for joining the conversation this morning. We've had joining us in the studio. Let me just get the details of that. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama, Technical Advisor, Office of the Vice President. We have also had Duke Sasu, you just heard him a short while ago, member of Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen's campaign team. We were also joined by Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. Well, stay with us. When we return, we'll be heading to Buipe in the Savannah region. That area flooded, and it's interesting. The Bui Power Authority says we've not spilled water, but water still keeps getting into the community. There's been no rain. So where is the water coming from? It has displaced 1,500 plus people. We'll be getting into that story up next on the AM show. Do stay.